You and I go into a donut shop. What do you get?
Man, I'm not a big donut guy, but if I do, it's like chocolate ice, man. Just classic.
Willie Nelson is hanging out with us, and he goes in the donut shop too. What does he get?
The one with the special ingredients, I assume.
Welcome to CelinaRadio.com. Recorded right here in Celina, Texas. A quiet little dusty, sleepy town that has absolutely nothing going on. In case you didn't recognize that voice, that's Chase Colston. And I know you recognize that name because Chase Colston is who is bringing the Troubadour Festival back to Celina, Texas for a second year in a row this Saturday. He was nice enough to sit down with us today, spend a little time, tell us all about the Troubadour Festival, tell us all about himself, and have a few laughs along the way. Needless to say, this wasn't your typical episode. That's right, guys, it's Chase Colston, and Chase Colston has a real passion for two things: barbecue and country music. And when you put the two of those things together, you end up with the Troubadour Festival going on this Saturday. And there's still some tickets available, but listen to this interview. Understand how Chase got to this point where this brainchild of his, this creation of his, has just grown in popularity. It's an amazing event. I went last year, as many of you did. I'm going this year. Can't wait for it. It's just going to be simply awesome. So guys, sit back and let's chat with Chase Colston. Guys, I am here right now with Chase Colston, and you may know that name because we've got a great big event coming up right now. We're right on the edge of it, and you know it as the Troubadour Festival. Chase, how you doing, man?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
I'm really, really good. Thank you so very much for being here today. We're going to talk a little bit about your event, and we're going to have some fun with some questions and stuff. But first of all, let's talk about the Troubadour Festival. First of all, I can't imagine there's anyone out there that doesn't know what it is, but let's fill the people in who might just be, moving to Celina, getting their feet on the ground. What's the Troubadour Festival?
Yeah, so Troubadour Festival is what we kind of label Texas barbecue and music experience. So we essentially celebrate two of the things that Texas is known best for. One of those is barbecue. Texas is inarguably the home of the greatest barbecue in the world. We love to travel for barbecue. We love to eat it. We love to consume content about it. And over the last 15 or so years, the popularity has just exploded. So we, that aspect of it, we bring in, 40 plus of the best barbecue restaurants in Texas. And then the other part of that is country music. So, Texans are very proud of our legacy in country music. And, one of those aspects is, kind of the Texas country red dirt scene, which is a big part of the country music experience with us. And then we, bring in some other country aspects into it too. But we basically kind of smash two festivals together into one and bring together a barbecue festival and a concert and do it all in one day. And, that's kind of the gist of it. And it's a good time.
It's amazing. So last year I went out there, and let me tell you what my experience was. First of all, it's huge. It's a big event.
Big spot.
Yeah, we did the VIP thing, and we'll get into that in just a little bit. We'll kind of talk about the different levels and what's still available, because I know some of it's sold out now. But when I went in, we did the early access, and I've never seen so many barbecue places in my life. I was literally in heaven. If you can't tell, I'm a guy that enjoys his food.
Yeah, so am I, my man.
Brother, I made it down one side. I started it, kind of up by the entrance, and I made it down that first side. I couldn't even cover the back or come back down the other way.
And even that's impressive.
I mean, it was amazing. It was something else. And then there was the music was just off the hook. It was incredible. Overall, it was just an amazing experience, and I would encourage anyone that enjoys anything to do with the barbecue scene, the music scene, especially if you love both. Dude, this is like heaven.
It is, and that's kind of the environment that we want to create. And we had an absolutely amazing first year in Celina last year. It exceeded every expectation we had, and the support from the very beginning, from the top level of the city down to every single attendee who came, was just incredible and humbling, and we were grateful, and we are. We're incredibly stoked to be back in Celina this weekend.
Well, I'll tell you, I speak for a lot of people. We're very glad to have you back here, and I hope this is something that continues for a long, long time. So let's cover some of the basics. When exactly is the Troubadour Festival this year?
Yeah, it's this Saturday, October 15th. We're back at Old Celina Park. I think on the grand scheme of things, it's going to be very similar to last year. There are some changes. Our footprint is a little bit bigger, so we're trying to make it a little bit more comfortable. We're able to make the event a little wider. If you had VIP tickets last year, the VIP section is bigger, so we were able to kind of move some things around, make that more comfortable. We've got more bathrooms in there. We got more bathrooms in the event period. Just to try to make the experience even better than it was. When you start events and you do your first one, as great as it went last year, which it went wonderfully, there's always something to improve upon. So, that was our goal, to come in and say, okay, let's improve these aspects of the event. And, we hope in those areas that we do.
Very, very impressive. And I love the fact that your inaugural event for this was right here in Celina, Texas. But you've got experience doing similar events or large events like this in the past. Tell me a little bit about what you've done in the past that's kind of similar to this. Like, how did this relate to what you've done before?
Yeah, so I worked in media for a very, very long time. I started in newspapers when I was 14 years old, and then I was a sports writer for about 10 years. And then after that, kind of went on the digital and then the radio side for a company that is a national company, but had a market in Tyler, Texas, where I live and where I'm from. And I was hired to do digital marketing for them. And then along the way, events were a really big part of the company's plan at the time. And I was a huge fan of barbecue. My boss who hired me was a massive fan of barbecue as well. And I was a regular attendee to the Texas Monthly Barbecue Festival in Austin, which was, really the OG barbecue event in the state. And, they brought in all these restaurants and you got to sample each of them. And it's just like, you had the best in one place, which I just thought was fascinating. And, I came up with an idea, said, okay, look, we work for radio stations, and one of our stations was a country station with a really popular Texas country show that's now syndicated all over the country, and said, let's take this barbecue concept and add a concert to it, and just kind of, put it together, and let's do it in Tyler. And I was told no.
That seems to be common.
Yeah.
Anytime any great thing is right on the edge of being, launched, there's a lot of no's.
Oh,
right
yeah.
there.
Yeah. And, my immediate boss was on board, of course. And, we took it to higher ups, and, it was no, and then it was no again. And, about a year later, we kind of went back with kind of a better plan and said, hey, let's take a shot on this. And they finally, kind of gave it and said, all right, here, you can do it. And we did our first, it was called Red Dirt Barbecue Music Festival, which still exists today. We did our first one in May of 2014, and I did it for 6 years on the square in downtown Tyler. 2019 was my last one. As everybody knows, in 2020, a little pandemic came along, so it essentially just wiped out that event for that year. But along with that, I was furloughed by my company since I was on the event side, and there were no events. And then about a year later, I was let go completely, just laid off. And along with that, I spent about a year and a half out of work, or at least on the couch like hundreds of thousands of other people in my industry. And long story short, my best friend of more than 30 years, who born and raised in a small East Texas town called Bullard, where we're from, lives in McKinney now. And we started having conversations over several months of me being unemployed and kind of seeing the writing on the wall of what was to come in my career and things like that. And ultimately, I think one night after a lot of adult beverages, perhaps, but we kind of he said, let's just do it. Let's give it a shot. And then the question came, so where do we do this? And I had when I got let go, I had a non-compete in Tyler in East Texas for a year, so doing it there was not an option, and and I did Red Dirt on the Square, that still happens now, and in downtown Tyler, and so we were kind of looking at like where are some really cool downtowns up in DFW, and we looked at McKinney, we looked at a couple other places, and my business partner has done a lot of work in Celina and some people up here, and he said, hey, let's check out Celina, and I had never been here. When I was a sports writer for a long time, I covered high school football in Texas, and I always knew who Celina was.
Of course.
Yeah, I knew who G.A. Moore was. I knew about 8 state championships and had covered Celina in some playoff games with some East Texas teams and things like that, but had never been to Celina itself. And we came to downtown and checked it out and, fell in love with it. And then we met with some people in the city, and, one thing led to another, and we looked at another property here, and, then they showed us the park, and then that's where we are now.
And so, exactly, here you are now. So the pandemic, as bad as it's been and as much as it has affected everybody, it really kind of allowed you to go to a whole new level. And thank God for that, because look at what we've got now. Troubadour Festival right here in Celina, Texas. And you grew up in a small town. You're an East Texas
Very
boy.
small, yeah.
Talk to me about Celina. You just love, is Celina awesome? Do you just love Celina?
Yeah, absolutely. And when you come into something like this and you spend, you spend 18 months on unemployment. I've worked full time since I was 15 years old, and worked for free in high school for a local newspaper, and I never knew what it was to not work. And when you're starting over, and then suddenly you're going into business for yourself, you're taking a giant leap of faith, and you're going into business with somebody you've known since you were 5 years old. It's stressful. It's a lot of pressure, and and as we were kind of looking at places, and we came to Celina and started having conversations with folks in the city, and the first person we met was Alexis Jackson with the EDC, and she was on board from the very beginning, just really, really outgoing, really helpful, really accommodating, and we got to understand what the city's vision was as it continues to grow in a massive, massive way.
And it is.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. And I think that if this thing continues, which I believe that your event is going to be wildly.
We certainly hope so.
And I hope it stays right here in Celina, Texas. I hope you never outgrow Celina, and I hope Celina never outgrows you. But with the number of people coming here, your base is just going to increase every year.
Yeah, and and that's that's what our goal is. When I started Red Dirt in Tyler, Tyler's a big town. We're about 100,000 people now, and it wasn't as much then, but Tyler's kind of on its own little island out there in East Texas, and when big events never really happened, and if something people want to go to a concert or do something big, it was 95% of the time you're going to Dallas, you're going to DFW, and there's Shreveport, about equal distance away. But any big concerts, any big events, you were going to Dallas. And so when I created Red Dirt, and we did our first one in 2014, and in over 6 years, it's sold out every year, which it still has, and it's become the event in the town, and the town has grown with it, and it's become the thing to do. And when we looked at Celina, it was, okay, it's growing massively. The city puts on great events, but, there's an opportunity here for a company like ours to come in and do something like that and grow along with it as well. The hope is that one day, we find a bigger place and we're able to accommodate more people, or, do what we can to make it even better and have more people in Celina be involved. Because as we grow with it, it's only going to get better from here, hopefully.
Absolutely. And right now, as we were talking about, there's different ticket levels and stuff like that, and I believe what I just saw is that the biggest VIP package deal that you have, that's sold out right now. But there are still some opportunities for people to come get some barbecue and to enjoy the music. So tell me about that.
Yeah. Our VIP tickets sold out in about 5 hours this year, which was just it was really, really cool to see. The demand has already gotten that high, which is crazy, but. With that said, we still have 2 ticket levels that aren't sold out yet, and one of those is our barbecue music ticket, which includes, unlimited samples from as many barbecue restaurants as you can handle. So if you can make it down the first line or all 3 or whatever, do what you can. But you can eat all that all you want, and it includes access to the show. And having a barbecue music ticket also allows you to see 3 great artists on our side stage, or Tumbleweed Textile stage, that operates from 12 to 4, which is exclusively for VIP and barbecue music ticket holders. We've got 3 great artists: Carson Jeffrey, Holly Beth, and Gracie York, playing on there. 3 up-and-coming great songwriters, great performers. But if you if you just want to come to the main stage show, and we have our concert only ticket, our music ticket for $60. So it's about half the price, which is a really good deal. But you've got Randy Rogers Band, Wade Bowen, Reckless Kelly, Muscadine Bloodline, and Chris Colston playing that stage. So if you got something going on during the day, or kids got games or whatever, you want to come later that night, we have those tickets available. It's looking like we're going to have both available at the gate. Prices will be more at the gate, so we recommend definitely buying online in advance. But we do have a limited number of both available right now.
So you've got some really, really big names out there this year. You had some big names last year. I just want to give me just a quick little insight. What's it like from your perspective at the actual event? Like, is it just mayhem and craziness? Are you just running around putting out fires? Do you get to finally relax at some point in the night, or what's it like in your shoes?
Yeah, in mine, we are fortunate to have a lot of great people who help us put on this event. That have their own fire extinguishers that are a lot bigger than ours. We do definitely experience it, but we have a great team of people who have made this event what it is, and we're able to see from our view what all they do and how they're able to accomplish this, which is takes a lot of pressure off of us. It's still crazy, especially when gates first open, and you got all these barbecue restaurants, and things always come up, and the barbecue guys are kind of my focal point for a large portion of this event. And but at the same time, as the day goes on, we're able to spend some time to talk to people, and sit down and enjoy company, and have a few beers at some point. And always my wife and I, we've worked events together for a long time, even when we were just friends as coworkers, and now married. We always make a point to watch one song together. So we say, hey, let's figure it out. Let's find that one song. And so, like, one of her favorite songs is a song by Muscadine Bloodline. So when they play, if they play that song, that's the one we'll watch together. But it's, we're given the opportunity now where we can take some time to enjoy it and have a good time, and put out some fires on the way. But that's event life.
So if somebody did want to go grab one of those tickets and come experience this thing, what's the website? Where do they go to buy these tickets?
Yeah, it's real tough for Troubadour Festival. It's troubadourfestival.com. So, we have some, Troubadour can be a little tricky to spell sometimes, but, Google will figure it out for you. So
Exactly. Yeah, I always have to double check myself. I think I have it down now. I think I can spell it.
It's that
right.
last U that tricks people.
It is. Yeah. It is. So in this entire event, with all of this stuff going on, what's the hardest part of it for you?
I've done it so long. There's not really a hard part. It's just more of dealing with the unexpected, or dealing with, last year it the weather was great the day of the show. 2 days before the show, 3 days before the show, it was not so great. It rained relentlessly. It was, forecast to be about a half an inch of rain, ended up being about 2.5 inches. And, we're on, the fields at Old Celina Park, and, they're just flooded essentially. And I will say that, and don't let him hear this, but you have a great Parks and Rec director in Cody Webb, who him and his team just went so far above and beyond to try to make that field workable. They were installing drains out there to drain pumping water off the ground to make it ready. And that Friday, we loaded in 41 barbecue restaurants, and that's big trailers, that's smokers, and that's hard on ground that's been rained on that much. So they just did a phenomenal job, making that doable, for the day of the show. And fortunately, at least right now, knock on wood, the weather looks great, and a little warm. So
right on. And after a big event like this, and you've been involved in events now, obviously, for some time, and you've done the big Celina one last year, the inaugural one, you've got this one this year. What's the day after feel like?
Sore.
Tell me about that.
Tiring. At the same time, it's just, for and it's not really a secret, I guess, but for event planners and people in my position, our day is the day after. The day of the show, it's all about the attendees, it's all about our artists, it's all about our restaurants. Doing everything that we possibly can to make it the good experience that we want it to be, and especially for our guests. We want them to come out and have a good time. If they want to come out and stuff their face or drink some beer or whatever, or just relax and have a good time. That's what we want them to. We want that goal to be fulfilled for them. The day after, that's our day.
Right on. Right.
On. That's where we kind of come out and make sure everything's going the way it should. When we're done, we go sit at the bar and we have a few beers and we just that's in feeling that fulfilling part of saying, hey, we did it again, and then we go to bed very early.
So do you at least get a little time off before you have to start thinking about the next year, or does that start pretty soon after the event?
Right now it's we have our date for next year already up here. We did 3 of these shows this year, which was a lot to take on, and we're kind of evaluating what we want to do in 2023. Celina is 100% a part of that. The date's already, like I said, it's already locked in, but things happen so far in advance now, especially with the artists, that we're already having conversations about headliner for next year, just to start that process. So it's we do try to say, hey, let's take a week or 2 off, and then be like, okay, let's get back on the horse and start doing this again.
Right, and that brings up a good question. So how do you select these artists, and how does that all come together? What's that process like? Yeah,
that's actually probably it can be stressful, of course, like anything can, but it's probably the easiest part. Because we just work with a lot of great booking agents and companies that represent these artists, and a lot of them I've worked with for almost a decade now, and call and say, hey, this is our date, this is what we can afford or not afford, and who do you have available, and here's our wish list, and what can you accommodate. And when I did the very first barbecue festival in Tyler, in 2014, so we booked our headliner in 2013, so almost 10 years ago, and that was Randy Rogers' band. Randy wasn't available last year, but getting Pat Green and Josh Abbott to co-headline was really awesome. But we had one goal for 2022, and that was to get Randy Rogers. Randy's one of my absolute favorite Texas country artists of all time, absolute legend in the scene, and he played Red Dirt. He played my first one and my last one, which was really special to me. And then once you get your headliner done, you kind of fall into place after that. Say, okay, who's good fit that fits our budget, fits our our goal to put on a great show, and who makes a great lineup. Randy Rogers and Wade Bowens. That's friggin' spaghetti and meatballs, man.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Randy and Wade played together the last Red Dirt I did, and it was phenomenal. They just bring a good vibe. They have a lot of fun, and that's that fell into place, and we were stoked to get that. And Reckless Kelly, which I'm sort of ashamed to say it, but I've actually never seen him. As long as I've been doing this, it just never fell into place, or at least best I can remember. I've drank a lot since then, but they're just they're Red Dirt legends. They'll play a lot of songs that people will be like, oh crap, I forgot that's who sang that song.
Right.
And Muscadine Bloodline's one of the hottest names on country music right now. The fact that they're playing second on this lineup is almost, it's crazy. It's like, but being able to fit them right there was really cool that they took that spot. And then opening the show is a Colston. He's a family member of mine, so Chris is my cousin, and this was a great opportunity for him. He opened our show in Tyler last month, and being able to part of this, Randy Rogers managed him for a while, so having him on this was really important to me, and I know he's really excited about it. But yeah, the whole process is fairly simple. Done it so many times. There's negotiations and things like that, but nothing that's too nuts. But it's actually kind of fun to say, hey, here's what we can put together. And when this lineup kind of fell into place, we were like, this turned out pretty good. One thing that we look at is the demographics of an area, and one thing that we noticed last year with Celina is you have a lot of, your median age, I think, up here is around 37, 38 years old. And so it's like, let's, you talk about people that are, mid-30s to mid-40s, most everybody has a family, they have, they live up here, they have, good jobs, but they have, spouse and children and things like that. But what almost every one of those people has in common is that they went to college. And when they went to college, they saw concerts from Pat Green and Randy Rogers and Reckless Kelly and Josh Abbott and, Cody Canada last year, Stoney LaRue. So it's like, let's kind of take these folks back to college a little bit and let them experience it. And we had a lot of people that came out last year, and it is 100% a family-friendly event. But we had a lot of people last year who brought their kids, and, we looked on social media after, and they said, this was great, loved it. Next year, it's just us. We're leaving, we're hiring a babysitter. Let's go, let's go live it up a little bit better, and maybe take an Uber home this time.
Right on. I can tell just from sitting here across from you and listening to you. First of all, man, you're really good at this. So congratulations on, falling out on the pandemic and picking up like this. That's amazing. What a huge success story for you. And here's what's cool: it's still building.
Took a lot of.
It's amazing.
It took some very, very important and special people in my life to help me there. Without. So my now wife, we were dating at the time, and she got laid off a month before I got furloughed from the same company. So that was, extremely difficult. And she was living in Florida at the time. She's a New York native, but she was living in Florida working there. So that turned into, crap, what are we going to do? Right. And then a month later, it was, I was furloughed for at least, at the time, I was, at least 3 or 4 months was the timeline. It ended up being a year. But along that way, moved her almost 1,000 miles to Tyler from Florida. She had to leave the beach. She still, kind of resents that to this day. But, she was able to get to Tyler and find a great job. And, along the way, when my business partner, best friend, told me that we would, do this. And, if I didn't have these people in my life, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you about this event. It's just 100% the truth. So, I call her my sugar mama to this day, and these people have, taken a giant leap of faith in the vision and what we do, and that this definitely would not be happening without those people.
And you love what you're doing. I can see it on your face as you're talking about it. When you get to talking about this, it's so obvious that you love this. I mean, I think this is your calling. This is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, I haven't worked in a very long time. And honestly, I don't think I've ever worked really in my life. My goal was when I was a kid to, cover the New York Yankees for the New York Times. I want to be a sports writer since I was 12 years old. And, I started my weekly paper in my hometown, a town very similar to Celina, when I was 14. I started full-time at the newspaper in Tyler, where I grew up and live now, when I was 17. I did that, worked in sports for, a very long time till I was 25. And, something called the internet was kind of taken over, and people weren't really reading newspapers as much anymore.
Right.
And so, the job pivoted, but it was still similar to what I was doing. And then events just kind of fell into place just from, crazy idea to do a barbecue festival in Tyler. But now it's just, when I was furloughed, I applied for 175 jobs.
Wow.
And I got a call back on 0.
Wow.
And, and what could have, come along during that time, I don't know. But, now it's just, I can't imagine doing anything else.
I'm kind of glad that nothing came along. I'm kind of glad that nobody called. We wouldn't have the event here maybe right now.
Yeah, and probably not. It's just you get to the point to where you go from having a great job and doing pretty well for yourself, and you've got a lot of good things in front of you. We were planning a new event in Tyler along with Red Dirt at the time, and I think it was probably the 3 or 4 days before, they basically shut everything down. We were on the cusp of booking one of the biggest country artists, independent country artists, I'll say now, that was going to be the biggest financial leap of faith that my company at the time was putting in. And it just, it all went to hell, you know. But you know, in the long run, you know, it's paid off. It's worked out, and you know, we're, you know, it's different when it's your company and, you know, and your money and your decisions and things like that, where we can say, hey, we want to do this, or hey, we don't want to do that, not you have to do this way or whatever. So it's
100%.
You know, so last month we did Troubadour in Tyler, 2 blocks from where I live.
Wow.
And right below where my office is, and that was my first show at home in almost 3.5 years, and it was good to be home. You know, it was really important for us to do one in Tyler. That's where we're from. You know, being and doing it on our own terms, I guess, was kind of the goal. Was, you know, I never really got a chance to leave on, you know, to depart, I guess, on my own decisions or whatever, and you know, I probably wouldn't have, you know. But being able to say, you know, let's come home, let's do this right, let's do it better than we've ever done it before. And, you know, we think that we did that, and, you know, it was really cool.
Well, so I do my due diligence. I do a little research on everybody, you know, before we talk, as I should. And from everything I read, that was a very successful event. So.
Yeah, it was great. You know, it's, you know, it wasn't as many people as Celina, which we knew. You know, there is another barbecue festival in Tyler that's pretty much the exact same concept. But one thing that I knew that we were going to do is knock it out of the park.
Right.
From our end, you know, it was, you know, we still had over 4,000 people there, which in this economy, in which, you know, 4 months after a very similar event, and it was a month before, you know, probably one of the biggest concerts in Tyler history came this past weekend. So, you know, there was a lot of competition around it, but, you know, it was still something that we wanted to do. Gary Allen headlined it, you know, which was really cool. I'd never seen him, but, you know, we really went above and beyond on, you know, the same stage that you'll see on Saturday is the same one that we put on the square in downtown Tyler. You know, we took down street lights to make it fit, and, you know, we brought in a lot of infrastructure just to make it look great. It's on red brick streets, you know, massive, you know, just old buildings, and a really historic part of Tyler. And, you know, we had, you know, 40 barbecue restaurants. The most I ever had at Red Dirt was 25. And so we just really wanted to do it better than, not that, you know, any of them aren't great, and, you know, all 6 of the ones I did I'm very proud of, but, you know, being able to take it even a step further and say, hey, let's take this Troubadour model there and show them what we're about was really, really fulfilling.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you this, one of the things that we do on Celina Radios, we don't just do, you know, boring stuff. We actually like to have a little fun, and I think you can have some fun with some of the questions that I've got right here. You have no idea what they are, so this is all going to be off the cuff. So you don't strike me as the kind of person that's going to get too rattled by anything.
Yeah.
So.
Well, hopefully I don't offend anybody in the process. So I'm a little blunt. So
we're Celina, Texas, brother. We're good. We're gonna be good. We're pretty thick skinned up here. So we'll run through some of these, and they're pretty quick. So let's have a little fun with this. Describe yourself to me in high school.
You know, kind of. I was kind of a all things to all people sort of guy. You know, nerdy. You know, I was really short back then. You know, I mean, I'm not tall now. I'm 5'11", but I was still short up until I was about a junior in high school. But just, you know, kind of was friends with, you know, different, you know, pretty much everybody. Of course, I graduated class of 96 people. You know, some of those people I grew up with since I was 5 years old.
So you didn't fit into like one of those little cliques, like, oh, you know, you were the country guys, or oh, you were the rock and roll guys, or you were a car guy, or did you fit in any of those cliques real well? Or
not really, just kind of, you know, I kind of friends with everybody, whether it was, you know, kind of the nerdy people, because I was, you know, I guess a pretty smart guy, I guess, but yeah, kind of fit in with them, but. You know, I wasn't an athlete by any means, and, you know, by the time I was a sophomore, I was working at the newspaper and then covering my high school's football games and things like that. So.
Right on. Tell me, what do you do for fun? If it's just a normal, you're not stressing out, you're not doing a big event, you're not doing that. What does Chase Colston do for fun?
Live music, man. I love concerts. My wife loves live music too, and, you know, whether it's, you know, a local band at a local bar or restaurant or whatever, or you know, a really big show. You know, I hadn't been able to go to as many as I used to, but, you know, trying to get really back into it. But just I love concerts, but my favorite thing is just being around people. I love being around my friends, and whether it's on a back porch drinking Lone Star and playing darts or whatever. But as long as I'm with people that I love, then I'm happy.
Life is good. So give me an idea of a favorite band or performer of yours, and it may. I've done my research. It may be surprising to some people, but give me someone.
Yeah. My favorite band of all time is Pearl Jam.
That's what I knew that, and I knew that might surprise people because you like this Texas, country music and all this kind of stuff. But hey, Pearl Jam rocks.
Yeah, and my brother was almost 7 years older than me, so when I grew up, it was, everything that he liked, I liked, for the most part, and a lot of that was the grunge era of music. When I remember being 7, 8 years old, riding in his truck, listening to Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, things like that. And then we had actually a station that was part of the company I worked for. We had a great classic rock station. So when I was with my mom and my dad, it was the Eagles, or it was Led Zeppelin, or the Beatles, and things like that. So I was, still in my heart, I'm a rock and roll guy. I did not like country music for a long time, and people still don't really believe that, but I honestly hated it. And it was more of just the kind of the rebellious side of me, which I do have. But as I got older, and my brother went to college, and when he went to college, he went to North Texas for several years and got introduced to the likes of Randy Rogers Band and Pat Green and Wade Bowen and Stoney LaRue and Max Stallings and Charlie Robinson and things like that. And he'd come home and say, "Hey, I want you to listen to these guys." And I'd be like, no, I don't like it. I'm 16 years old, and I was like, I don't want you to tell me what to listen to. That's obviously changed since then, thanks to him and some other people that I've worked with and experienced things with. But but Pearl Jam is my jam, and actually got to see them a few weeks ago with tickets that I had for 2.5 years.
Right.
And finally got to see them in Oklahoma City, and got to take my wife, and she's not a Pearl Jam fan, but she got to see them in person, and she's like, "Okay, I get it." It's like,
awesome.
I got them tattooed on my arms, and
right on.
That's my stuff.
I have some like really kind of different questions.
Okay.
I actually have some that are kind of rapid fired. That's not these, but these are fun. You and I go into a donut shop. What do you get?
Man, I'm like I'm not a big donut guy, but if I do, it's like chocolate ice, man. Just classic.
Willie Nelson is hanging out with us, and he goes in the donut shop too. What does he get?
The one with the special ingredients, I assume.
Oh man,
the cannabis donut, I suppose.
I think you may have just invented something right there. So the next thing at the Troubadour Festival,
I assure you, man,
cannabis donuts.
Potheads are pretty creative. I'm sure somebody's tried it.
It's already out there. So if you could change your name to Chuck Norris for the rest of your life, but you get paid $200 a day for the rest of your life for doing it, would you change your name to Chuck Norris right now?
Sure. Yeah, why not? My name's Chase. People have called me Chuck for years.
So it's not that much different, right? Yeah. You might need to learn how to do a couple roundhouses or something, but otherwise, I think you're good. So, what's your favorite holiday?
I guess Christmas. It was really important growing up, and my wife is like a holiday nerd. Mm-hmm. So, like, man, right now Halloween is thrown up in our house. So,
oh yeah, right.
Yeah. She would say Thanksgiving, but I do like, I'm a Christmas guy.
Rockin'. I like it. And you need to come to Celina if you get a chance at around Christmas time and check this out, because Celina does quite the event. We've got a Christmas event, and it's a lot of fun. So it might be kind of fun. Yeah, definitely.
And I love cold weather. So, and my wife's from New York, just north of the city. So, Christmas is huge up there with Rockefeller Center and stuff like that. So it's,
it kind of goes easy with what you like. So if you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Probably to be invisible.
Gosh, that is like that's the number one choice, followed by flying. Okay, so if you could turn invisible, what would you do?
I guess just be invisible. Just be that fly on the wall that everybody talks about wanting to be. It's like exactly. if I could be a fly on the wall in that meeting or that situation.
Right. Right?
Yeah,
You could definitely eavesdrop and spy on people, right? I mean, that's that could be a dangerous superpower. So, what if you could meet anyone from history? Someone that's still alive or not. Is there anybody that you would like to meet from history?
Oh man, I was a history minor, but there's so many. Can I have like dead and alive?
100%.
Alive is 100% Eddie Vedder.
Okay.
Pearl Jam's lead singer.
Right on.
Dead is Mickey Mantle.
Wow. Wow.
I'm in DFW, so I probably shouldn't say that I'm a Yankees fan, but I've been a New York Yankees fan since I was 5 years old. And,
that's awesome.
When I was little, I was a huge baseball fan, huge baseball household, and he was my dad's favorite player growing up, and that's kind of why I became a Yankees fan, even though he's not a Yankees fan anymore. But especially Mickey Mantle, like after sobriety, just so I'd keep liking him, probably.
Right. So what do you think Mickey Mantle would think about the Troubadour Festival? You think he'd dig it? You think he'd like it?
Pre-sobriety Mickey Mantle for sure. We got a lot of beer out there. But yeah, he's a country guy from Oklahoma, man. Lived in Dallas for so long. I think this was kind of be his jam.
Right on. Yep, absolutely. So if you had to either live the rest of your life without wearing a shirt or without wearing shoes, which would you pick? The look on your face.
Neither one of them sound great because, I think probably shoes just,
So you just be that barefooted guy.
I guess, yeah.
Barefooted Chuck Norris walking around doing events,
getting
right?
$200 a day, apparently, yeah.
I like it. It's 2 a.m. We just finished hanging out all night. We go to IHOP. What do you order? 2
eggs over medium, bacon, hash browns, coffee.
Rockin'. I like it.
Maybe pull out a flask.
Do you own a...
And you cannot bring a flask on Saturday, so please don't.
Right. Don't. He is not giving you a little wink there. You literally can't do that. But there will be plenty of things available out
Absolutely.
there. So no need to bring anything. So do you own a pair of Crocs?
No.
Okay.
I actually just bought a pair of Hey Dudes, which are apparently the thing now, and my wife's still not thrilled about it. But all my friends have them, and we went to Mexico recently, and I was like, they're comfortable from what I hear. And at first I was like, these damn things are overrated. I don't get it. And then after about 2 days, I was like, I get it. Okay.
Wow. Okay. I'm gonna have to check that out. So what is this? Just like a really comfortable shoe? Is that
yeah,
kind of
they're
the thing?
kind of shoe sandal hybrid sort of things, but they're really light. And I don't know. I see all my friends have them, and I got a buddy who works in the oil field in West Texas, and he lives close to me. And he called me one day. He goes, "Hey man, can you run by my place and get some packages on my porch?" And the guy had 5 freaking pair of Hey Dudes on the porch. And he's like, "Man, you got to try it." I finally did it. My wife just looked at me like, "Oh my God, dude, you fell into it." But
that's awesome.
They're comfortable though, but no Crocs.
Gives me something to look forward to now. I think that sounds awesome. So Coke, Pepsi, or Dr. Pepper?
Coke.
Good. What's your favorite number?
7.
Wow, no hesitation on that.
Mickey Mantle.
Right, there you go. Makes sense. Favorite movie?
Almost Famous.
Almost Famous. Have you ever skydived?
No, but I want to.
Good. What do you have any hidden talents, things that a lot of people don't know about?
I can say the alphabet backwards fairly quickly.
Really? Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. What an amazing, I don't know how you discovered that, but that's awesome. I like it.
We'll leave that answer off the air for some other
Has something to do with that whole flask thing and all
Probably.
that, maybe? Yeah. So if, how much money would it take to get you to hop on a bicycle right now, training wheels, and ride around the square in Celina?
Training wheels?
Training wheels on the bike.
Very nothing.
You do it just for fun.
Yeah.
You do it because someone dared you to.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's awesome. I love it. Can you back a trailer up? Do you know how to back up a trailer?
Absolutely not. And it's not something I ever want to do, which is crazy because you go to one of our shows and there's 50 friggin' trailers out there, whether it's barbecue trailers or bathroom trailers or things like that.
And thank God you're not in charge of backing them up, or it might be a little misaligned out there.
It would be an utter disaster.
When's the last time you played tennis?
Sophomore year of high school.
Wow. All right. What's the best decade? The 70s, the 80s, the 90s? What decade?
I mean, I lived the 90s, so I have to say the 90s.
90s guy. Yep.
I would probably go 90s and then the 70s, at least, especially from a musical perspective.
Right on.
But the 90s had so much just awesome
Yep.
stuff with it.
Yep. No, I agree. I love me some 90s music. I'm preferential to 80s maybe because that's more my speed.
Right.
But 90s right behind that for me. So I want you to think about this next question because this is a little more serious and it takes just maybe a little bit of thought. So would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses? Which would you prefer?
Probably a horse-sized duck.
A horse-sized duck. Okay,
because horses, not to say like ducks are, but like horses are kind of. Honestly, I've also have a kind of a fear of horses just in general because
100 little duck-sized horses would just freak you out, probably.
Probably, yeah.
A million little horses
because their teeth are still going to be as sharp, and whether they're biting you or kicking you or
but
whatever.
the duck that walks up that's big enough that you can put a saddle on, you're in the fight for that one. You're gonna
I
take
think you
that
probably
one
have
on.
some fun with that,
So tell me, if you weren't doing this, what you're doing right now, what other career would you have?
I probably would have kept just being a sports writer. That was something. I mean, that was my first passion, what I wanted to do, and was fortunate enough to cover a lot of really cool things and meet a lot of really cool people. And,
Right.
One of my favorite stories. You could bring this up to him, and he'd say, "Yeah, it's probably true, but I have no idea what the hell you're talking about." But I covered my first Cowboys game when I was 17 years old at Texas Stadium, and a coworker and I were in there, and we were in the room where they did the press conference after the game, and Bill Parcells was the head coach, the Cowboys then, and I stood next to Randy Galloway, who
No kidding.
Was the best iconic columnist,
Right.
in Dallas Fort Worth for so many years, and he was one that I looked up to, and I was standing next to him, and he kept kind of side-eyeing me a little bit, like, what in the hell is this kid doing in here? And I had a press badge on, I had a media credential, and he looked at me and he said, "Tyler?" And I said, "Yeah." And he knew my sports editor at the time, who's still there to this day. And he said, "So this is what you want to do?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Dumbass."
Tell me a lie about yourself. Make something up, but make it sound believable.
So one time when I was a sports writer, I was covering a Cowboys game, and I was in the elevator going down from the press box, and Michael Irvin was with me. And, he was sitting there. Michael Irvin, he'll talk to a brick wall. Great guy. I interviewed him a few times, and he's like, "Hey, man, can you help me out?" I said, "What?" He goes, "Can you spot me a 20?" He goes, "I lost a bet to a guy up there, and he's being a jackass about it, and I don't have any cash on me." And I was like, "Sure, man, I make $6 an hour, but you're Michael Irvin, so here you go."
So you loaned Michael Irvin $20.
Yeah.
That's a great lie. I like that. That sounds good. So if you have a pet elephant for a day, today, doing whatever you're doing today, you can't give it away and you can't leave it anywhere. What do you do with it?
I call my wife because she loves elephants, and she would have the absolute time of her life.
Oh man, that's amazing. Okay, rapid fire. Harley Davidson or a boat?
Boat.
Would you go to bed early or late if you had a choice?
Late.
Would you shave every day or just sometimes if you had a choice?
Sometimes.
Drink out of a can or a bottle?
Depends on what it is.
I like it. Rare, medium well, or well done?
Rare.
Chocolate or vanilla?
Depends on what it is.
Dirt track or the drag strip?
Dirt track.
Football or baseball?
Baseball.
Mac and cheese or a bologna sandwich?
Grew up on both, but mac and cheese.
Mountains or the beach?
Beach.
1985 or 2005?
2005, I guess.
How many episodes of The Kardashians have you ever watched?
I've heard a lot because my wife loves it, but I haven't watched, but maybe one.
That you're going to admit to.
Yeah.
That would have been a good one of those.
Now, playing
lies.
while I'm cooking dinner or just sitting there mindlessly on my phone or something like that's probably more.
How many episodes of The Bachelor have you watched?
0.
Very, very good. We can continue the interview. Tats or no tats?
I have 2.
Boots or tennis shoes?
Depends on the occasion. I have both.
Sweet or unsweet tea?
Half and half.
Ford or Chevy?
I've had both, but I got to say Chevy.
Captain Kirk or Luke Skywalker?
Skywalker.
Chihuahua or Pitbull?
Pitbull.
Pineapple okay on a pizza or not okay on a pizza?
100% okay with it. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Wow. That's good. That's good. I like that. That may be one of the few times I've had someone actually say yes. That's good.
And I'm just a side note on that. My wife is from, about 45 minutes north of New York City. Her dad, born and raised in Brooklyn. Her oldest brother is a cop in the Bronx, NYPD. And, you're talking about a demographic of people who are as passionate or more passionate about pizza as we are about barbecue in Texas. And if I were to put pineapple on a pizza up there, my father-in-law would probably disown me. So I don't. And I will say that New York pizza is the best pizza. I will agree with him on that. But if I'm going to Pizza Hut, man, put some damn pineapple.
You're ordering the pineapple.
Absolutely. My wife will judge me, but as long as I don't put ranch on it, she's fine.
I like it. So what's the last thing that you Googled?
Oh, it was about Bryce Harper this morning. I was listening to Dan Patrick's show, and they were discussing whether Bryce Harper is going to be a Hall of Famer one day. And I was like, don't do this while you're driving. But I was like Googling his stats while I was driving to Celina this morning. And,
very, very nice.
Kind of deciding that on my own.
Pancakes or waffles?
Waffles.
Skipper, Gilligan, Professor, or Mr. Howe? Who are you on Gilligan's Island?
Probably the Professor.
Mustard or mayonnaise?
Mustard.
Do you own an Xbox?
PS4.
What games do you play?
None.
Don't have time for it, or just
during the pandemic? Man, I played a lot, So
well, give me an idea. What kind of games do you like on the PS4?
Yeah, I play like MLB The Show, but also like Assassin's Creed, stuff like that.
Right
stuff
on.
that you can play for 9 hours and realize, oh damn, it's 4:00 in the morning.
And that's exactly how it happens. I try to explain that to my wife all the time. I'm 54 years old and I'm still gaming. I started back, with the Atari back when I was, like 10 or 9 years old, and I've never quit. Yeah. So I'm not an old dude that's trying to be young. I just never stopped. Yeah. So iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Describe yourself in one word.
Ambitious.
I like it.
That's because the other word is kind of more PG-13. So
I gotcha.
Yeah.
I gotcha. That makes sense. Thank you for that. Thor, Captain America, or Iron Man?
Iron Man, because I love Robert Downey Jr.
Nice. Me too.
He's just the wittiest dude. Like, I appreciate that. Like, he's just so charming. So,
right on. He's nerdy and a badass at the same time.
Yeah,
he's
kind of a rule breaker, and I like to think of myself as kind of quick-witted and things like that. So like when I watch it, I'm just like, I need to think of that line. Like that's good stuff. Right
on. So right now, tell me, are you excited about this upcoming show? Or are you starting to feel it right now?
No, I mean, we're stoked. This is our third one this year, and we did our first one in Georgetown back in June, and we did Tyler 5 weeks ago. So doing 2 shows in 5 weeks, not the smartest thing we ever did, at least from a lot of different perspectives. But we did Tyler, which was very important to us, and we. Before Gary Allen came on stage, I got to go up there and introduce him, and it was the first time I got to do that in 3 years, 4 months, and 6 days, which is what I told the crowd that was there, and it felt great. I can never relive that moment again, but at the same time, I also kind of walked off knowing this was awesome. We got to come home. I got to do what I wanted to do one last time here, and I'm really looking forward to Celina because. Celina said yes. Celina, opened their arms, and and I know what kind of crowd's going to be out here, and just the vibe, and just the, every single part about it. Like, it was our first, and Red Dirt is Tyler's home, and I created it, and that's where it is, and that's my home too. For at least the foreseeable future, because my mother would cry if I left, but. But Celina is Troubadour Festival's home,
right?
And we're going to get done with Saturday and have a kick-ass time, and Randy Rogers, and then we're going to blow the lids off. We've got it's going to be great. We've got a barbecue restaurant coming from Connecticut down to participate in this too, which I'm really looking forward to. They're great people. We'll go into next week's kind of evaluating what we want to do in 2023. This is and for to be quite frank, this has been a tough year for events. You came back from the pandemic and everybody went to everything they could imagine, and they still are, but there's so many. It's like events are back, so let's do more and more and more and more and more. And there's so many, but along with that, you have, the current economic climate with things are just costing so much more right now. And so money's tighter, so people are being, more choosy about where they're going and things like that, There's still a very good chance we sell out this weekend, which we're very, very happy with. But, everything has gone up 30, 40, 50% or more since last year. So you see that times 3, it's a little... it's tough. So,
it is tough. And I can only imagine that.
But no matter what we decide next year, we're looking at, possibly doing 2 instead of 3. But at the end of the day, we know that Celina is one of those. That's where I kind of have the realization, this is Troubadour Festival's home. Anything that we do beyond this is because of Celina. And that's what we're really, really stoked about.
Wow. We are so grateful that you're doing the event here. I'm very grateful. And my listeners are going to be very, very grateful that you came on the show. I know you're very, very busy right now. So for you to carve out this bit of time for us today has been amazing. And let me ask you this. If everything goes good, no more pandemics, no more craziness, and life is good, would you come back next year and sit down here and let's talk about how it went and what you got planned?
Hell yeah, let's do it, man.
All right, brother. Thank you so very much. Guys, that is Chase Colston. Guys, what did you think about Chase Colston? I mean, let me just tell you, sitting across from him, he is just so happy doing what he's doing. He has a real passion for it and a real talent for it. If you didn't go to the one last year, you missed something amazing. So go to the one this year. Tickets are still available. And like he said, it's just this big, giant combination of food, barbecue, tons of it, and some amazing country music. Bring it all together, put a really fun party-like environment out there, and you've got the Troubadour Festival. You're going to love it. So check it out. Go grab some tickets. It runs from noon until midnight. The different times that you can get there depends on which level of tickets you buy. I recommend doing the food and the concert. It's just incredible. So yes, come hungry. Come ready for some great country music. And come for a good time. Chase, thank you so very much for coming on the show, and thank you guys for tuning in. You make CelinaRadio.com possible, and we are blessed because of you. We've got some fantastic guests coming up. We've got the holidays right around the corner, and we're just going to have a good time. We've got some great stuff coming up. So guys, thank you so much. And as always, God bless, and I'll see you on the next show.